right, folks, here we are, and we are back with another episode of On the DELO. So, you know what's funny about that is I did that the other day on Jeremy's podcast. I was like, and he just stops full frame, and he looks at me, and he's like, dude, what are you, amateur? Like, I was just dying laughing. Anyways, I had to start with that. So here we are, episode 109, and I have my good friend Liz, who I'm so excited to talk to. And Liz is the spirit of entrepreneurship. I can't even tell you, folks, how much I have learned from her over the years. And I remember meeting you for the first time. It was at, Lovecraft?
Lovecraft,
yeah,
yes.
And it was a little networking sheding. Do you remember that day?
Oh, yeah. I was speaking at the event about standard operating procedures.
That's right.
And you, being you, came up and were like, hey, I need to know more about you. I'm like, got it. Let's do this.
Yeah. And how long was that? Like 6 years ago?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, at least. And SOPs, standard operating procedures, were something that I didn't know a darn thing about. And I befriended you, and you were so kind to help me with that. And a lot of that stuff we still use today. You actually took up residence in my office for a little while, too. Isn't that crazy to think about? Like right next door to the studio.
I know, which is amazing. Well, but I think that like says something about you. So like when I first met you, I was like, how does this guy, like, he has it together? So like from an operational standpoint, like what's going on?
It's because he's a nightmare. Yeah. And as you know, when we have a lot of employees and a lot of hats that we wear, and, you know, we're all built different in essence. And I know that you have your positives, I have my positives, this and that. And I think when you find somebody like I found in you, at least that day from what you were saying, I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. Like, you know, somebody help me organize this shit that's not, you know, because my staff's too busy doing insurance. I needed somebody that came from the outside and really organized stuff. And
your business, too, is a lot of, like, paper and processes from point A to Z, right? And, like, you're the salesperson to some degree. And so bringing people in to your orbit, and how do you service them, and what's your client experience, and, you know, what do you expect as the business owner? So that was kind of a fun process to go through with you.
Yeah, it was. And you learned a lot about insurance, too, and just kind of all the different things. And we're a boutique agency. So I know you could appreciate that because you're very boutique yourself. Now, you have 3 things going now, correct? You have Puff and Fluff?
Yes, quite a few.
Which is the initial. Legendary Ideas, right? And then Fill and Be Fulfilled.
Full and Fulfilled.
Full and Fulfilled.
Yeah. So basically, Puff and Fluff.
Well, let's start with that.
Yeah.
Because I want you to tell the audience. I love this story. I love this story about how this started. I mean, it's truly a grassroots story. So tell that story about Puff and Fluff. And it's a grooming facility for doggies.
Yeah. Yeah. So I basically was working a corporate job, hated it, was like, needed to do something else. And I had a passion for pets in general. So I started a pet sitting business when I went to ASU and was pet sitting all the time. And I'm like, hey, I do not want to sit in this cubicle any longer. I need to do something. And I ended up one night Googling pet businesses in Phoenix for sale. And basically back to this boutique thing, I was like, it'd be so cool to have like some kind of facility where people would come in and you have this beautiful storefront and, you know, these glass windows, and it's beautiful in there, right? And so from there I was like, let's see what's for sale. And there was a mom and pop pet grooming business off Bethany Home and 16th Street in Phoenix. It was 450 square feet, and it was a mom and pop. One person owned it. She was the groomer and owned it for like 35 years.
Wow.
And would smoke in there. Like, it was old school, super, super old school. And then she had one bather. So it was just like a 2-person, and it wasn't even making a lot. Like, even when I look back at the financials now, I'm like, why in the world did I buy this thing? It was like in the negative.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was working a corporate job. I wasn't happy. So I needed to like figure out what to do. So during my lunch hour, I went to 7 banks over a course of like 3 weeks.
This is great, yeah.
And I went in there all happy. You know, I have, you know, my undergrad in business. Will you give me a loan? And this was 2013. People would look at me and be like, business loan? No. Yeah. Like, you have no experience. I didn't even have a business plan. And one bank out of the 7 said, I'll give you a line of credit. I'm like, cool, how much? Well, at that point, like I knew what a line of credit was, but not specifically. It was an 18% interest rate. Like crazy. That's like worse than a credit card.
That's not good, kids.
Not good. And I was like, okay, I want to do this. So I signed it on a dotted line, and they gave me the money. Well, I was $4,000 short. So I call my dad. He lived in Iowa at the time, farmer, knows nothing about pet grooming, doesn't even think you should like bathe your animals. Like he's a farmer.
Yeah.
And he was like, not a good idea. This is just, you have no business experience. You're like 25 years old. This is like, you could go bankrupt if you can't pay this line of credit off. It was really high. And I was like, just think about it. And he was like, let me think about it. And then I walked out to my mailbox a few days later, and I had a $4,000 check in the mail, and it said, you can pay me back when you're a success. And it was like I was able to make my dream happen, and that was 2013. And he has passed in 2015, but he saw my initial momentum. And so it rings true to,
it's a beautiful story.
It's beautiful. And
I love it.
Yeah. So from there, I was working the business. I was
everything.
I was everything. I was the IT manager, the HR person. I was the front desk receptionist. I opened and closed my shops. I'm a hiring manager, everything.
And how many locations do you have now?
I have 9 now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So in 10 years, I have 9. And I'll probably get like 1 more and then call it quits.
Yeah.
10 will probably be my max. But at that point, I became everything. And then I saw another business for sale 3 years later in 2016. And so the word on the street was like, hey, maybe Liz will buy it. So I talked to the lady. I knew my number, looked at the financials. And these are all things that I just learned on my own. I wasn't even taught how to look at business financials. I had to kind of figure all this out. And I offered her, and she was like, no. I'm like, call me back when you're ready to sell. You know, this is my number. And so that's when I bought my second location. And I always tell people that's really actually when my nightmare occurred, because I was so excited for growth and opportunity, but I didn't have my shit together.
Yeah.
I was running one storefront on my own based on my expertise, how I want, my clients to be introduced, how I ran the operation. Right. I was the operation. And so from there, the second location was my nightmare, because I started having my manager at the other location call me because they didn't know, I had nothing in place. I didn't have, when you bring somebody on board, you need to teach them.
Right. You felt like you were doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and I knew it, but those people didn't know it. So I was doing a huge disservice to these people that I was hiring. And so I took a 1-year period, and every question that anybody asked me in my business,
Smart.
I wrote it down and I answered it from a procedural standpoint.
Yeah.
Not fluffy, but step A, step B, here's what you do. And little did I know I was making my own standard operating procedure.
That's awesome.
And so once that was created, then I was like, I'm going to buy another shop. And then that was in 2017, I bought my third one. I don't even know all the years now. I kind of lost track. But I own 9 now. But I literally created these operational manuals. And basically, I started networking with people. And people were like, hey, I want to do what you're doing, growing and expanding. And I'm like, I just own pet grooming businesses. I can't help you. And they're like, no, we want to know what your secret sauce is. And I was like, I don't know. So I went home to my husband one night and was like, people want to work with me, but I have nothing to offer. They can bring their dogs into my shops, which is great, but what else? And he was like, you write standard operating procedures. You know how to do that for people. Your brain works that way. I'm like, whoa. So at my next networking event, I went with my manager and I said, hey, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to advertise something. Please don't let your mouth drop. So I stand up and I'm like, I'm Liz Illg and I write standard operating procedures and da-da-da-da-da-da. And everybody's like, oh, they thought I was there for pet grooming. And people started coming up to me like, hey, I want you to help me. And so that's really how it started, that's really how Legendary Ideas Group started, is why it literally was just I think I'm going to make a business out of this.
So you've been doing that for a while. So what is all that transformed into now? Because that's a completely successful business model on its own.
Yeah. So I just started taking local people like you and, preschools and anybody that was really at a place where they wanted to grow and scale but didn't have their processes in place. Mm-hmm. And so I started doing that and then getting a team to help me write the procedures. And so to this day, I still do the sales calls.
Yeah.
I have the kickoff meetings with all these larger companies,
cool.
gain all the information, knowledge, and then my team then builds it out from an operational standpoint of technical writing and, all of that, upload it to like Trainul or Google Sites or, some of those platforms. And so we do standard operating procedures and then we build websites. So those are our two like expertise. And the only reason we went into websites is because we started learning so much about people's businesses from operations. We were like, here's how you should display yourself, to your audience.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So
wow.
It's a fun process. So it's like, some days I'd look here, I'm like, how did I get here? But Legendary Ideas Group started in 2018. So from 2013 to 18, I was just Puff and Fluff.
Okay.
And then Puff and Fluff, Legendary Ideas.
So I must have been one of your first.
You were probably, I think, like fifth or sixth clients.
Fifth or sixth clients. Yeah.
It was fairly new. Yeah.
I mean, the reason why I put this podcast together was all about the entrepreneur spirit, and just like listening to your story again, it just excites me. Now, I'm 109 podcast in, and this was exciting to have you here because, lo and behold, during COVID or after? Well, I don't even know when COVID was. Whatever. 2020. Is that when you decided to just kind of pick up and move into the wilderness?
Yeah. So about 2021, COVID 2020, 2021, I said to my husband, I was like, hey, my businesses run on their own. I have great staff. I have a great operational manager for my grooming, business, and I can run Legendary Ideas Group from anywhere.
Yeah.
Let's go out and like literally live in the middle of nowhere. And he looked at me and he was like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, we should do it. So we started. Have you
always wanted to do that? Like, or was that part of you?
It's so funny.
Did your dad rub off on you?
Like, now that I think about this, I'm like, how am I like a farmer now? Like, I have chores in the morning. Like this morning before coming to Phoenix, like I literally had to like get my livestock up and get my farm up, But yeah, I mean, I actually my dad's side of the family and my mom's, both farmers in Iowa, born and raised. But when my parents got a divorce, I was 5 years old. We moved into like a city. Right. So I've always been like, I've always known about, agriculture and, things like that. But I really was at a place where I almost got burnt out from my businesses because I marketed so much. I was on like media all the time. Like I was always out there, and I almost got to a place, and you're probably like this, and some people are really great with it because I used to be an extrovert, but I actually feel like I'm an introvert now because I had so much that I was always like, I was hustling and bustling. Like people are like, how'd you get here? You must have had money. And I'm like, no, I had no money. Like I came from like really nothing. Yeah. And so I've made it, but I've had to work hard for it. Now, things have calmed down and I can like be the visionary, I guess, of a lot of my businesses. But I don't know. I think maybe I'm going back to my roots.
Yeah, maybe so. So like 2020, 2021, and then you sold your house here in Phoenix, right?
Yeah.
And then did you already know where you were going to land before?
So there was a few factors. I didn't want to go to the cold. So most people from Phoenix go up north. And so I don't really like the cold, but I also don't like the high temps of 110, 120. So we picked Southern Arizona because it's usually like 10 to 20 degrees cooler. So like we got snow this winter, but a little bit for like 6 hours. Beautiful. Yep. It goes away. That's great. And then in the summer, it's like 90, 95, maybe 100, but it doesn't get super hot. And the vineyards. So.
And it's still cool at the nighttime.
At the nighttime.
Instead of 90, yeah.
Yeah. So kind of just doing that I felt like I needed to get out of the city. Yeah. And now I have like fallen in love with like waking up and seeing, I mean, there's some days I don't even leave the house for 4 or 5 days, but I'm also the kind of person that I have office hours for myself, like I'm still very much involved in my businesses. I might just not go to them, but I'm very involved.
Did you test the internet before you bought 100 acres?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Starlink is at everywhere. Okay. Yeah, we have 2 Starlinks.
Thank you, Elon. It's good.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So this is cool. So I do want to get into your other businesses, but were your other businesses kind of born out of you being in the middle of nowhere?
The Full and Fulfilled, a little bit so. Okay. And that's really about like food blogging is mainly what I do. So that's more me being, and it's kind of funny because like I'm on YouTube and stuff like that. Yeah. So that like shows me as an extrovert. Right. But I'm also a very introvert because I don't really want to be by people. They can kind of see what I'm doing and see what I'm eating and, things like that. Yeah. But they're not close.
Right. You film and produce all this stuff yourself?
Yeah, I have a team that does all my editing for my videos, but I film everything on my own.
Dropbox it over.
Yep, I do all that. And then I have for all my teams. So I guess my secret sauce to most of my businesses is I start them, I operate them, I learn them, I can do them, but then I hire them out and source things out so that I can really be higher in a visionary state and in a creative sense. And so I started creating within my Full and Fulfilled business, pottery. Yeah. And so I sell these bowls that are, for weight loss and things like that. So it's just kind of I love having an idea and making it something, because there's probably people listening to this that have an idea, but they don't take the action. Yeah. And it's just having to take that action. It can be forever life-changing.
Well, I can't even tell you how many ideas are probably sitting in people's heads for decades that never come to life, if at all, Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And action is everything. Even
and it's
if it's
fear
a
and
little
risk.
Action. Yeah, it is.
Fear and risk is always those two obstacles of what if? I had no money 11 years ago, and now I'm in a different state.
You went and got an 18% loan, right?
Yes, I had no money. So things are possible.
They are. And I would consider you in a flow state. And, I watch you on social, every time you pop up. And it's so cool to watch the evolution of somebody that runs multiple successful businesses and allows themselves to be free. I'm very envious of part of the reason why Kim and I went and bought land. It's just kind of I'm envious of that that work-life balance, but you don't really work in the essence of it's hard work. It's just part of your life. You're just doing stuff. And I remember watching you doing the canning, and now you're a huge gardening. Remember you hired Ashley, who I sent over to your house for gardening. That's
and
so
she
funny.
taught me the basics of gardening, right? And so when I moved to Southern Arizona, I had a really large garden. I learned how to can. I learned how to make sourdough bread. I wanted real life. Yeah. I love to learn, but I learn and then I move on. But I still continue to do the thing. I just am not maybe as obsessive about it.
Right.
When I learned canning, I probably canned 1,000 jars of food and ended up having to sell it because there's no way I could have possibly ate that much food, you know? Yeah. So it's interesting. But I wholeheartedly, when I get into something, I just do it 100% and I go kind of OCD about it. Yeah. Where I'm I get that. You're like that. Yeah. And so I have to kind of reel myself back sometimes and be is this a good decision?
No, for sure. So tell me a little bit about Starch Solution, what that's about.
Yeah. So Starch Solution, I feel my whole life I've battled with weight. Just as a woman, I've never been able to be at my optimal weight. Right. And I gained weight. And I remember my husband would always say, I used to go to the Village 2 times a day, in the morning and night. And I played tennis. I was super active. I was taking HIIT classes. I was doing everything, eating, cottage cheese, mozzarella sticks, the cheese, getting my protein, doing my micros, and nothing worked for me. Mm-hmm. And so one night I was I've had it. So I started watching a YouTube about Starch Solution, and it's basically eating starches and vegetables with a low fat. So no oil and no meat and no dairy. Okay. So rice, beans, potatoes, those are my primaries. Yeah. With a bunch of vegetable, but I eat a ton of vegetables. So I'm not saying I'm having a little salad. I'm
you're getting your fiber in.
Yeah, right. large quantities. And I was able to lose before I moved to Southern Arizona. I lost 34 pounds, and then I lost an additional 18 pounds last year. So I got down to my optimal weight where I think my body was functioning and it felt good. And, so it's definitely not for everybody. I'm never you shouldn't eat meat, because I actually think meat could be good for people. I'm not everybody's body. And this from working with so many people, people's bodies are so different.
Yeah, and people just need to be, in my opinion, accountable for their own bodies. And for me, what that looks like is it's blood test, it's cognitive eating, how do I feel after I eat this, what goes on. It's the amount of energy that you expense, during your day through workouts and other things, and what you need. And sometimes people don't eat enough. That was my biggest problem. I would keep weight on because I didn't eat enough because I was so scared I would gain weight, but yet I was working out twice a day. It just didn't make any sense. Yeah. So there's always something that's there for, for everybody. And it's just a matter of finding out what that is. So you would consider yourself, I guess,
plant-based.
Plant-based. Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't say vegan because I don't eat crap. Like I literally eat basically starches, vegetables, and fruit.
You're not going to the store and buying like the vegan tamales with all the.
No, because it's probably even worse.
It is, yeah.
than anything else, And so I don't eat like that, and I don't crave that. But I also got to a place where, as like a food blogger, I was like creating recipes a lot. Well, when you create recipes, the calories and all the macros just change, and people don't realize like in this actual in recipe there could be a ton of fat, ton of anything, and it adds up. So I was on a quest to find something that was super easy. So like I hardly spend any time in the kitchen now because I love it. I just like steam my vegetables, make my starches and things like that, and just eat super clean from nature. And I think there's something beautiful about just eating food that makes you feel vibrant and checking in with yourself. And a lot of the times I only eat twice a day. Yeah. Because I eat larger quantities, because I'm also eating probably low calorie dense food. But I'm also walking. I walk 3 to 5 miles a day.
Oh my God, you're walking. And I'm going to share all of her social media. You have to check it out. I mean, literally she has sheep that follow her. How many dogs do you have now?
A lot. I have 3 outdoor dogs, so they're guardian dogs, so they take care of the sheep. Yeah. And then I have 4 cats, 5 small dogs, 3 outdoor dogs, and then 3 medium-sized dogs.
So you have your own farm.
I have my own farm. Like I have to wake it up in the morning, close it down at night.
Are the sheep's just pets? You don't.
Yeah, they're pets.
You don't squeeze their nipples for sheep milk.
No, they're all boys.
Okay.
I say, "Hey, boys," and when I say, "Hey, boys," they're like they look up and they're
so cute. Kim and I have to come and see the sheep.
Yeah, they're baby dolls, and so like baby dolls. And so they're boys, and they're like what you would see at a petting zoo.
Okay,
basically.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And they get along with the dogs and hang out.
Oh yeah, the dogs love them, and the cats love them too.
Really?
So, and my outdoor dogs and my cats love one another. Okay. Like the little cats need on their like fur and stuff. It's cute.
So if you're just listening to this, Liz weighs about 40 pounds, and it's so funny. You're like, I lost 5 million pounds. It's like, dude, you weren't even that big to begin with. But it's interesting to see and hear the perspectives within ourselves, because I was that same way. Like I weighed 160 and I'm like, oh, I'm just overweight. Now I feel good at 145. Like that's my ideal, and I think when you get in that zone and you feel good, you're more productive, you're energetic, you're a better wife, entrepreneur. I mean, all those things.
Life changes.
It does.
Life like almost brightens you up a little bit.
And then when you know what to eat every day, you're like, cool, that's one thing I can it's like wearing the same shirt every day.
You don't have to second guess it. Yeah. I mean, everybody is obsessed with food nowadays. Like, what's my next meal? When is it going to be?
Right.
Like today when I got on the road, I'm not even worrying about my meals. Like I packed my stuff and I'll snack on things. Yeah. Like I'm just not. Sometimes I don't eat till 10 o'clock. Sometimes I need to eat. I eat when I'm hungry.
Right.
If my stomach is telling me I'm hungry, I eat when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I don't have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh my God. So how often do you get down into Phoenix that you have to even check on the the puff and fluffs and that sort of stuff?
Never.
Yeah, it's great.
You're maybe my 4th time I've come in 3 years.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And then all the other stuff's online. And so and I'll share all this too, but you sell stuff online. Like you have a whole array of things.
Yeah, I've created my own products. So I created a product about 2 years ago. So I sell a 50-50 dish, I call it.
That's cool.
And it's basically a divider down the middle. It's a ceramic, beautiful piece made by an artist. I now have a company manufacturing it in the United States, which is super cool. So it's kind of fun because I have brick and mortars and I know how to run those. I started doing the online space and I didn't know anything about that, so I got that.
Right.
And then I was like, my last thing I need to do is bring a product to market, right? And so my husband and I created CAD drawing for the product. We created the mold for it.
Wow.
I found this company in the United States to mass produce them for me. So it's just fun because now I've been able to learn all those types of businesses about how to sell a product online and things like that.
The online space is definitely different, and I know that's taken you a while to learn, and we've had good and bad experiences through that. But I assume once it's like anything else, once you learn it and you kind of understand the flow, and you're trying to gain people's attention that are looking for these sorts of things, and then get them to get to your website to buy stuff. And so how long has that taken to really get like momentum to where you're going to make revenue off of this?
Yeah, it took me a while. So
Yeah.
my Start Solution Instagram page now has like 22,000 people.
Yeah.
So I finally have an audience.
That's
and the
great.
audience is watching, right?
Right.
And so when the audience is watching and I'm eating out of my dish every single meal,
Yep.
because it's a tool to show me how much food I need to eat to keep me full and satisfied
Yeah.
for a long period of time, people see that. And it's a tool. So any kind of weight loss program usually has a tool.
Yeah.
And mine is this 50-50 dish of filling one side with starches, the other side with vegetables, you know, using hummus or, and beans and, anything like that. And but you have to have momentum.
Right.
You have to be able to source people. And that can be the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't have an audience and you have a cool product, how do you put those two together? It's really, really challenging.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So it's a work in progress.
Don't give up, people. That's I think the moral of that story. Tell me a little bit about just your fitness journey and kind of your daily routine. What does a typical day look for you?
Yeah, so I cannot wake up with an alarm anymore. So I
Cool.
naturally wake up every single day. Wake up to my animals, and I actually have a really slow morning. So I like to have my coffee.
Yeah.
Sit down, journal, read. I listen to music.
Cool.
Really just cool, chill music. I have, beautiful windows that overlook like the whole valley of Sonoita, Arizona. So it looks really cool. And then I do a morning walk with the dogs, and I always have my office hours from 9 a.m. to usually 11 a.m. So that's like when my team knows if they're waiting for me to approve something, I need to look at balance sheets, anything like that. That's like a really good time. I'm a morning person, so I need to
same here.
if you want me to review something at 3 p.m., like I have to wait till the next day. And that makes me sound old, but like I just feel way more vibrant in the morning and like laser focused. My mind is still like
Got the caffeine flowing.
yeah, I just feel good. So my office hours are 9 to 11, and then I also do sales calls for Legendary Ideas Group during that time. And I usually only work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
So those are like my days in office. And then like Thursday, Friday. It's so funny because like I remember when I had like a full-time job and I needed to work out and I do all these things, like I made everything happen in a day.
Yeah.
And now that I'm like semi-retired, I'm like, I need more hours.
Right.
But I don't, some days I'm like, I don't even know what I've done today. But also in my defense, I have like my teams reaching out. I'm approving stuff all day.
All day long.
I mean, I might not be actively involved in a lot of my businesses, but I am behind the scenes.
It's a good place to be, and I think that's something that if you're into it, it's definitely achievable for people. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of letting go,
That was so hard.
Yeah.
That was like one of my hardest things. Like I remember my manager looked at me and she was like, Liz, she's like, I need you to leave.
Yeah.
And I just I looked at her and I was like, what in the world? Like I felt like I was being kicked out of my own business that I built. Mm-hmm. But I'm so glad she did that.
Yeah.
Because it gave me freedom.
Right.
Freedom that I didn't even know existed. And it also gave her a chance to blossom and grow.
Yeah.
And I met her for breakfast this morning. Like that's
awesome.
how long she's worked for me. Like she is my true gem of a human.
I saw you tagged her on Instagram.
Yeah, I just love her. And so she's been so good. And like, she's now like one of my really good friends. Like, yes, she's like my top employee, but she's my dear friend.
Well, you trusted her, you empowered her, and now she takes responsibility and she takes ownership in what it is that she's developed.
Yeah.
And you're grateful for that.
I got her back. Like I bought her a car, so it's like,
That's great.
She's my gem.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. We all need those gems, trust me, and I have several here as well. So you walk the land a lot, and I wanted to ask you this. What sort of like life do you see out there? What creatures are out there? What have you come across as far as wildlife?
Yeah. So, the interesting thing about my property is I feel there's a vortex there.
Ooh.
And every time anybody comes, the house used to be an Airbnb, so it's set up really nicely to entertain. But anytime anybody comes there, everybody will take an afternoon nap. And these people don't take naps. They literally feel like at peace on my property. Mm-hmm. And so it's something really cool about that. We see deer, coyotes, javelina, fox through the yard. I mean, just literally everything. But I have guardian dogs. so nothing can get into my property.
Okay.
Because a coyote would kill a sheep within
1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my guardian dog would destroy that coyote and probably.
Define a guardian dog.
A guardian dog mine are Great Pyrenees, and so they are bred to protect land, people, and animals.
Okay.
So, but they are the nicest animal. Like most kind-hearted dog ever.
Wow.
They're white. They look like a wolf. They will protect you. They hold 95 pounds of pressure in their mouth.
Oh my God.
So if they want to kill something, they will kill something within a second. Because
so coyotes don't come near.
No.
Yeah.
I hear them, so they're in the valley for sure.
Yeah.
Where I live, but they won't stand a chance.
Any bobcats or?
I have seen my neighbor say a few bobcats looked into their windows before.
Oh.
But once again, since I have these dogs, they have full access of my full acreage.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting anything like super up close, but we walk the full land as you see.
Yeah.
We walk
that's great.
the cow ranch and things like that.
And when you check out our social media, you'll see all the dogs and the sheep and everybody.
And all the cats walk with us. The cats will literally walk 3 to 5 miles. It's pretty cool.
Dude, it's absolutely the best. Any non-negotiables for you on your day, on your day journey? Is it like a walk? Is it
a walk?
Yeah.
A walk. I love taking a quick little nap.
Okay.
Non-negotiable is I create a to-do list for every single day.
Okay.
Every single day of my life, the night before, I sit down and I plan out my day.
Love it.
For the next day. I just even if it's hobbies that I'm going to work on.
Yeah.
I need direction for my day, and it also empowers me. It inspires me. It makes me a better person when I'm able to project what I'm going to do ahead of time. So sometimes it's work. Sometimes it's I need to can some food. Sometimes it's I need to make my sourdough bagels and, things like that.
Yeah.
So a to-do list every single day.
Would that be your number one tip for people doing business?
Yes, create a to-do list and time block.
Okay.
Time block was probably one of my biggest things that I did.
Yeah.
In being successful, giving yourself an hour to review this document, 20 minutes for this, actually time block, because there's not a lot of self-starters out there anymore.
No, there isn't.
And if you're not a self-starter, that's going to be really hard to have a business. That's why I'm saying I live in a beautiful home, but I still love my office hours because I go into my office and that's my time to make money and produce amazing things for the world to see. And if I don't do that, then I can't be my full authentic self, I guess.
Right. And it probably excites you to be able to go into that realm and check your different accounts, and you're like, I did this
I love
here.
it.
Yeah.
You're like me. I got to check my email right away.
Totally. I want to know what's up.
Yeah, I look at my bank statements
Did
3
this
times a
investment
day.
do well? 100%.
Yes,
Love all that.
Yeah.
No, this is awesome. All right, I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Cool.
You ready? Okay. Dog hair or sheep hair?
Dog hair.
Okay. Canned peaches or canned beets?
Ooh. Peaches.
Okay. Pizza or pasta?
Pasta.
Do you make your own pasta?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks good. Travel or stay at home?
Oh, stay at home. Don't make me go anywhere. Even if my husband asked, was we could pay for anything, any trip, I'm like, can we please stay home? I love being home.
Yeah, so do I.
I love being home.
We're so similar.
But I also think, too, it's about creating the space for you to want to. There's nothing for me to run away from. I love my life. I love getting up at my house, love going to bed at my house. I have my pillow. I have my bed I love.
Your animals,
I have my
your
animals.
vortex.
I literally, yes, I have everything that I could possibly want in this life.
And your husband works from home, too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Javelina or rattlesnakes?
None. They both would probably die in my house. So I would probably... a rattlesnake would kill instantly. Yeah, no rattlesnake. Javelina.
Okay. Have you seen a rattlesnake on your property? Mm-hmm. Yeah. No,
oh, yeah.
No bueno.
Yeah. They'll kill a cat within an instant.
Does the dog take care of the rattlesnake?
The dog usually will bark at it.
Okay, so you'll know.
Yeah.
Caves or cities?
Cave.
Yeah. You have what is it? The Karcher
caverns.
Yeah, I've been there actually.
Yeah.
Hibernate or socialize?
Hibernate, please.
UFO or chupacabra?
UFO.
And then ACDC or P. Diddy?
AC/DC.
All right. That's awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to put it all in show notes, but where do you want people to find you, or do you want me to just put it in notes, or give me all your
I would say
handles and stuff?
Legendary Ideas Group if you're wanting, learn more about businesses, standard operating procedures, things like that.
Yeah.
And then if you're on a health journey, Start Solution would be a good thing as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for driving 19 hours to come see me.
I just
It's only
appreciate
been
being here, and it's really like a blast from the past, and your office is beautiful. So it's really cool just to connect with you again in person.
That's awesome.
Like social media, we get to see and interact, but it's not like real.
From the moment I met you, you've been a dear friend, and we'll do this again. And thank you for my dressings; those are kick-ass. She bought me these really cool dressings, and they're like limited ingredients, low calorie, like just amazing.
And here's the thing: you're kind of easy to buy for because you and I kind of like a lot of the same things. But I was like, what is it? Something that he may have never tried before, from a health nut to another health nut.
Perfect.
And I felt like that was perfect.
It's
I mean, you introduced me to the protein. We kind of go back and forth. Like,
we'll vibe off each other.
Yeah.
I got my new book, The Fit Entrepreneur, coming out.
Cool.
So,
Love it.
And you taught me how to start working on ebooks and doing all this other stuff. So
Cool.
it's been great.
Great.
All right. Well, until next time, thank you everybody for listening to On the DELO. Appreciate it. Please subscribe and 5-star it. Follow Liz. Check out all of her stuff. And until next time, we'll see you later. Peace out.